response from the private sector, and they have become very important partners in our work. And why the private sector? I mean, well, because they're very important to any economy in the country, to development, and therefore to what happens to our natural resources, which includes the natural economic processes. The second aspect of MFF, which was very important, was this partnership brought together countries, private sector, NGOs on the strategic steering committee. And we also brought together the international intergovernmental organizations and the international NGOs like CARE, the deal with humanitarian relief, and the UN, and all its bodies that have to do with the environment. So through UNDP as a co-partner of IUCN, we bring in UNEP, we bring in FAO, and we bring in any of the other UN agencies that we think need to come in. And that itself means that we have access to those networks globally to just about any organization we need to outreach, which is why MFF in a sense is quite powerful, because we can reach out at all levels to partners and ask them to come in, and they frequently do. The third aspect of MFF, which has been very important, is that we didn't want to stop with just donors who gave us money to run a program. We wanted to take that money and then, in terms of sustainability, give it to organizations and agencies that actually would use it to develop programs of their own, which in the longer term they could continue to run without IUCN, UNDP, or anything else. Hence the grant-making mechanism. And that, I think, has been a key to our success. The ability to actually take the money and give it to people that can make it work in the way that they feel will be most sustainable and most credible at the ground level has been, I think, very powerful in terms of MFF, and we are in our second phase. We have more countries wanting to join than we can accommodate. We started off with the 6 Asian countries that were affected. As you know, we have 2 more now, and we have 4 in queue, and more coming in all the time. So in that sense, it's been a very successful program, and really, they're not coming in for the money. Because if you look at the size of the grants, they're important, they're significant, but they're not huge. You can go to lots of other world agencies and get much bigger grants for much more. So what is it that attracts people to MFF? Yes, the money helps, but it's really the partnership. And I think that is one of the most important factors. The opportunity to speak to other countries, the opportunity to speak to private sector NGOs and governments, the opportunity to speak to international agencies, the opportunity to work across countries of Asia. All these things to learn, to transmit the lessons one to the other. And Pakistan is coming in the second phase, but I'll give you examples of countries in the first phase that go beyond even the MFF mechanisms. For example, because we've been doing this work in various countries, India and Sri Lanka recently decided outside MFF to develop their own discussions in terms of transboundary work in the Palo Strait between India and Sri Lanka. And they're doing work of their own, regardless of MFF is facilitating it. But it's great to see countries taking independent action beyond the construct of the project. When Pakistan was first proposed for inclusion, it was not a natural selection. Pakistan actually doesn't qualify very well in terms of mangroves. You've seen the figures, they're not very large relative to global volumes. We've got a significant number, but I mean, if you consider Indonesia, if you consider, the parts of the Southeast Asia, etc., the mangrove coverage is much wider. Also, Pakistan is right at the rim of mangrove tolerance in terms of rainfall, in terms of water, etc. So, I mean, there were quite a few countries who asked why Pakistan. And I'll tell you why Pakistan got to, and this is where leadership comes in. When Pakistan came on as a dialogue country, because countries come in first as dialogue countries and then they get included, to almost every single regional steering committee meeting, the Secretary of Environment himself came from Islam. And that made a huge difference. Because what countries want to see one from the other is ownership and leadership. And when you actually have the highest functionary in the government or a particular ministry attending the regional steering committee meeting, then the other countries and the other agencies start looking around and saying, well, if the government is that committed, then that interested, then we should include. And the second thing Pakistan did is it did an extremely good national strategy, even before it joined, even before it got any money. So what I want to give you credit for is that essentially unusual in many ways because we know that as a country we don't always do such a professional job in international fora. We actually did our homework. And because we did our homework, basically Pakistan was admitted when the next phase began, together with Vietnam, which had also done similarly very good homework. There were other countries, I'm not naming them, but there were other countries who were still in the queue who actually were also there but didn't do that because they were not. So this is not a program that you can just join without working on it. And I think that's also one of the reasons why the program does well, is because, one does expect a certain level of performance and a certain level of delivery. And I think one continues to expect that from any country that joins. The mechanisms themselves, the large grants, the small grants, the medium grants are all different. You start off with the small grants, which is what you're doing now. You could move on to medium grants and large grants, they're important. In this case, we're looking more and more trans-regional. So I would suggest that although it's not easy for Pakistan, because really trans-regionally the only country you can look at is India, but don't forget there are lots of opportunities. We are doing a lot of work in Gujarat, which is right across the border. There are possibilities of working across the Rana Kutch, and although I know you've got the Navy here, which is the only country, by the Pakistan is the only country that actually has one of the armed forces on their national coordinating body, which is very, very important. But because you have the Navy, you have a very good way of getting through and bringing the armed forces in on the discussions of possible collaboration. And in terms of across the border, we also have very good relationships with a number of the Indian governments, including with Gujarat. So there are possibilities if Pakistan decides to start talking about going trans-region. And there are special grants for that. So keep that in mind as well, because it's something that you can do. We have, a lot of opportunities coming up with MSF. As I said, we have a second tranche just now. We hope we can go on to the third tranche as well. We've gone global. We are talking to the continents in Oceania across the Pacific. We're talking East and Southern Africa of doing MSF models as well. There are lots of partnerships to go. Eventually, we hope MSF will become global across the world as we go from coastline to coastline. Much of the work that is now being done and coming in addition for MSF is on climate change resilience and adaptation. Special grants and special donors coming in addition to the core grant in terms of taking MSF forward. And again in Pakistan, I think there are some opportunities. So beyond the current mechanisms of granting of MSF, for those of you who have interesting projects where you think you can develop project proposals for donors in Pakistan, they are add-on opportunities. Because you don't have to just restrict yourself to this program. You can use the umbrella of the program, you can use the national coordinating body as the oversight mechanism, and within that you can develop complementary projects on MSF as a number of countries have done. So for example, if you wish to do a program that was specific to your area of interest, that was particular to the coastlines in which MSF works, and you want to take some of the expertise of MSF, the MSF Secretariat in Pakistan will assist you, develop project proposals and take them to the donors, and you would complement the work that the MSF program is doing with those projects which would come under the same umbrella. And that means that essentially you're spinning off a lot of initiatives that could be of greater value and overall value the program even more. There's a lot of research also going on in MSF. There are a lot of very good scientists in the network, and they're all available to you. Now that you're part of the program, you can call in. And equally bring Pakistanis into the network, because I think there's a lot of interest also in seeing how much useful information can be generated. Steen has already talked to you about the possibility of an RSC, a Regional Steering Committee meeting later this year in Pakistan. And inshallah, I hope that will happen. Our security situation aligns for it. And in that, there is a learning event, and the learning event usually brings in a lot more people, not people that are just working on the program, but in addition to that, other people who are interested. So that too is a great opportunity to expand the range of work for MSF. I'll stop there. I think I've said most of what I need to say in terms of our, the various things that have been going on. Last point I think I would just add is that you hear now, and you'll be hearing it in the Rio Plus 20 debate, you'll be hearing it in in the World Conservation Congress that IUCN is going to have in Korea later this year. The whole link in terms of economies, and particularly green economies. And MFF is a very good example of what makes for a green economy. Because essentially what you're looking at is the development of livelihoods of people based on natural resources being managed sustainably. And therefore I think there's a lot of possibilities for Pakistan to also present MFF in terms of the construct of the green economy when you go into these international conferences. So you may want to keep that in mind as well, because there are a lot of opportunities as well in that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wan. This definitely got more details on the MFF program and what would be coming up. I would, at the end of the conference today, I would like to present my thank you and appreciation for the time all the speakers have given us for the day, and obviously this was very enlightening, very encouraging and thoughtful for us to listen to all this and then make our strategies how to be part of this campaign. Now I would invite Ruta to come forward and kindly give conference mementos to the speakers. Ruta, kindly. I think maybe down. First of all, I would want Mr. Javed Jabbar to come forward. So you would remember today also, and you would remember what you highly motivated us about. Now I would like to invite Mr. Man Marshal Liberty to receive the memento from Rumita. Thank you. I would like Dr. Zafar Iqbal Khalid to kindly come forward and receive the memento from. Thank you. To Dr. Zafar Iqbal, this is going to be the remembrance for all the commitments you have made from the government side. So we will keep on reminding you on that. And now I'd like to invite Dr. Steen Christensen to receive the memento from. Thank you, Dr. Singh. Thank you, Mr. Kindly be seated. Now, I would like Mr. Seema to kindly come forward. He is one of the founder members of HRDN. I would like him to come forward and give out the mementos for other speakers. So, kindly, Seema sir. I want you to do your duty as well. I want to invite Mr. Rayas again to come forward and receive the memento from Seema. Thank you. I want to invite Sayyid Ghulam Qadir Shah